So hi there. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to be doing a series of yoga exercises and actual positions. So we might possibly need some equipment depending, of course, on our body. So maybe be prepared to use a belt, bricks, a yoga cushion or bolster, or whatever you have that's of the equivalent. So let's get going. First of all, Vajrasana, or rather Supta Vajrasana. So we're just going to spend a minute or two just feeling the back of our body on the ground and allowing it to take the shape of the floor. So do at least one sigh through the mouth and let it out. Feel the weight just descend down into the ground. And it's already a good idea to put your hands on your tummy. This actually is more comfortable. You can feel not only the weight of the back part of your torso, the weight of your head, the weight of your feet, but also you can feel the weight of your elbows coming down squarely into the ground. So let it out. And be aware of the lower abdomen just coming into the body, sinking down with gravity. But at the same time, don't let the solar plexus, which is just more or less under where your sternum is, don't let that collapse. That has got to move instead towards your chin. So feel these 2 points of your abdomen, and these are points that I refer to regularly in all my lessons in any case. So the lower abdomen moving in and the solar plexus moving towards the chin. Now what you can do is just get either the brick, a cork brick, or whatever you have that's equivalent, even a little lightweight, and you can put it where your hands were, which, as I say, was on the lower abdomen. And you can just place it there and feel the presence of that brick or weight, which has replaced now the weight of your hands. So I've just swiveled around to give myself a little bit more room. Maybe you need to do so too, because we're going to move our arms back and eventually stretch our legs out. So just double check that you've got enough space, and then put your feet on the ground. Make sure that there is a slight weight on the belly, as I've said before. So allow the belly button to descend, the lower abdomen to descend towards the ground. And then on the next inhalation, we're going to lift our hands, arms up towards the ceiling. And then the next exhalation, we're going to bring our arms back behind us. But don't think about doing that so much as maintaining the sensation of the belly moving towards the spine. Generally speaking, when we bring our arms back in this manner, the belly tends to push forward, and we don't want that because that could compromise the lower back. So have this gentle idea of the belly entering into the body. Now, if your arms are not touching the ground, that's okay. Keep on breathing. Every exhalation allows space to emerge, and that should result in a little bit more descent of the arms. But the point of this is for the belly to descend into the body. If you have an angle of 160, 170 degrees between the arms and the torso, as opposed to the full 180 when your hands and your arms are down on the ground, that's not a problem. You just keep on perceiving the center of your body, because that really is the ultimate guide to this position. And with every exhalation, emptying your belly, you will find soon enough that your arms and hands get closer to the ground. If not, they actually touch the ground. Now, when you stretch out your legs, make sure that the belly doesn't pop out and up towards the ceiling also here. As I say, we're wanting to maintain the position of the belly. The brick allows us to perceive the position a little bit better. So with your legs outstretched, your feet active, space between the toes. Feel that this stretch along the floor, in any case, is none other than a stretch that moves towards the central part of your body, or rather the belly, the pelvis area. And then one leg at a time, we can simply rebend them, putting the feet on the ground, and move your hands back, and maybe you want to place them on the brick. Now we can intensify this stretch a little bit more by getting a second brick and putting it in between our hands, but not holding the brick, actually squeezing the brick with the palms of our hands. And then we do the same thing. So with a presence in the lower abdomen, we exhale and we can bring the arms back as far as we're able. And you should feel that there's a little bit more work happening in the shoulders. The shoulders are a little bit more compact, but the main priority is still the stomach area. And then one leg at a time, you can stretch them out, activate the feet, space between the toes. The big toe pushes away from the body while the little toe comes towards the head. And you breathe out, emptying the belly and still feeling its descent towards the ground. And then one leg can be bent, putting the foot on the ground, then the other. And then on the next exhalation, you can move the hands back over the head. Maybe bring that brick between your hands onto the other brick. And just feel the added weight on the belly and enjoy the sensation of total relax. And then move your brick to the side. With your hands, you can lift your head up so that you're looking at your thighs. And then with your hands, elbows on the ground, you can just push yourself up into a sitting position. And from there, we're going to come right over to do Anahatasana. So we did a gentle stretch of the arms and the shoulders before. We're going to ramp this up just a little bit. So make sure that your hips are over your knees at all times. Your toes can either be flat on the ground or turned over, tucked in. And then we're going to walk our hands in front of us and start to bring our chest not only down towards the ground, but towards our hands as well. So that goes back to the idea of the solar plexus I was talking about. So it really wants to move towards the chin, and the Anahatasana position is a great way to get us to do that. So be careful you don't bring your hips forward, too far forward or too far back. And then we use the breath even here. So don't try and push that chest down towards the ground, at least not immediately. And in any case, yes, it goes to the ground, but it's always moving forward towards the chin anyhow. So there's never one particular action in yoga so much as many simultaneous actions. Use your hands. We've got 10 bases of the fingers, okay? So we press them down into the ground. And if you use those 10 bases of the fingers actively, you're going to also enact shoulder action. So feel that when you do nothing with your hands, your shoulders are relatively flaccid. As soon as you kickstart the hands, you feel action emerging from the shoulder area. And again, you can go back to the exhalation. The exhalation is great because that allows you to feel your weight. Shouldn't just be our muscles that are urging us to enter deeper into a position, so much as we're wanting to feel that gravity can be our ally and help us emerge into a particular position. Okay, and then we can just come back slowly but surely, maybe working our hands towards our knees. So we're going to have a pause in Vajrasana. If this is difficult for your feet or indeed for your knees, there are solutions. You can put a brick between your bottom and your heels, or maybe you want something a larger support perhaps, so you could use a cushion, or I've got a bolster here, whatever is comfortable. Ultimately, if there are problems with the knees, I always suggest putting some kind of soft substance in the crook of the knee. So you could get a pair of socks, or in this case I've got an elastic band, and you can just do that. I last year had an operation on my knee, so I'm an expert in all things knees. So I recommend that if you're at all worried at all. So we're just going to spend a moment, again going back to feeling our weight. Put one hand on the lower belly where the brick was, and the other hand on the solar plexus, which is what we have been talking about as well. Squeeze the thighs together, and you'll note with that action, that squeezing of the thighs and the knees together, that creates more of a base, and it actually lifts your spine a little bit more towards the ceiling. It stimulates the pelvic floor. And one more time, we will go into Anahatasana, which is a wonderful, rich stretch for the shoulders. So just come in slowly at your own pace, using the breath, feeling gravity, as I said before, as an ally, which can slowly but surely help you along and enter more deeply without resistance into this beautiful position. Do mentally envisage your knees under your hips, so don't bring your hips too far forward or back. And then also feel how this position encourages the movement of the solar plexus towards your chin. And breathe. The breathing, and particularly the exhalation, is another way that you can really allow gravity to work its wonders on the body. And then you can just come out, and one more time, get what you need for Vajrasana. Squeeze your thighs together. One hand on the lower abdomen, which comes gently in, and the other hand on the solar plexus, which moves gently towards the chin. And even here, just do a wonderful sigh to feel the descent of the weight as the spine, by comparison, flies away up towards the ceiling. So there's never any doubt that we will collapse at all. There's a deep rooting on the one hand, and yet there's a lightening on the other. Okay, and then from there we're going to grab a belt. I'm going to do some stretching of the legs using a position known as Supta Padangusthasana. And we're going to start off with our legs bent like so. So again, we can even go back to the start of this lesson where we felt our back. It should be feeling really different. To descend back down with the fullness of our back. So I really want you to think about the scapula, the shoulder blades coming down towards the ground. That is really, really important insofar as that helps direct the solar plexus. So we're back to that again, yeah? And then on the next exhalation, I want you to start to lift the right foot up towards the ceiling, but without straightening the leg completely. And you'll notice how I'm holding the belt as well. It should be quite comfortable. I'm assuming, I've never ridden a horse, but I'm assuming that's the kind of hold that you would have if you had the reins of a horse. I find this very, very comfortable for the hands, which is why I'm suggesting this position of the hands. If you've got something better though, please feel free to use that. But one of the advantages of this handhold is that you can really feel the outer shoulders descending to the ground. That is really, really important. And you'll notice with that action that brings not only the right foot, but the right leg more squarely into the right hip. And that in turn makes heavy your pelvis. And that's what we need. That's what we need at all times for this position. So leaving the right leg where it is now, you can stretch the left leg along the ground. I'm going to have to move back a little bit. And then activate both feet. So by that, I really want you to separate the toes. And you will feel as soon as you start to do that, that the whole of the leg changes in sensation. And then from there, put the attention onto the right leg and start to straighten it, but not completely. And please do this really, really slowly, because what you do not want as you slowly but surely straighten your leg is for the shoulders to come off the ground. Now, if at any point the shoulders come off the ground, you have compromised the solar plexus. Solar plexus needs to move towards the chin, remember. So stop where you're doing. It is far better to have a bent leg and keep your shoulders on the ground than straightening your legs completely and having a situation which is like this. As you can see, my shoulders are completely up off the ground. It's just pointless, because in actual fact, what I'm doing is I'm creating a hump with the back, which is what we really do not want, okay? If your leg is slightly bent, in any case, you'll be feeling the stretch without a doubt. And then slowly but surely, disciplining those outer shoulders down towards the ground, you can start to straighten the leg. So that's the thinking behind this Supta Padangusthasana. There is no reason for you to have a straight leg if your shoulders are off the ground. The priority is the torso, not the leg. So you might find that this is absolutely not a problem and that your leg is straight and your back is completely on the ground. That's great. You can, in that case, make the loop smaller. Okay, and then let's change sides. So when you're ready, you lift up the left foot. Spend a moment feeling the shoulders, and particularly the outer shoulders, resting down on the ground. Actually, it's more the outer scapula. So we've got to feel the breadth of that shoulder blade totally supported by the ground. And then we can start to stretch out the right leg, engage both feet, so feel the base of the big toes, the base of the little toes, the central part of the heel, all engage and be filled with energy. And one of the ways we can do this is to separate the toes. Then when you feel like it, you can start to either fully or partially stretch the left leg. So remember, go slow. At any point, if you feel the shoulder blades are lifting up, you stop. The priority is still the solar plexus. And use the breath as well to allow a certain release to take place in your body. Now, if this is going well, remember you can make the loop smaller. Or if you want, you could even do the full Supta Padangusthasana. Padangustha means big toe. So if you wanted to take the big toe, take it. But if the outer scapula has lifted off the ground, then return back to the belt, all in good time. You want the benefits of the position and you want the technique of the position. The position is almost secondary. And then you can just come down and take a moment with your hands on the lower abdomen, just to go back to where we were at the start of the lesson. So we're now going to do exactly the same thing as before, only this time we're going to be standing up. Now, in theory, the Supta Padangusthasana is a balancing pose, but I actually am not interested in the balance today. I'm more interested in getting that technique that we worked upon on the floor into as much of this position as possible. So we're going to be by a wall, and the left side of our body will be nearest the wall, fingertips of the left hand on it, feet parallel, and we'll start off with our legs bent. We'll also go back to using the belt, so have your belt handy. And then we will lift up the right foot, hook the belt as before, round the toe, and then before we do anything else, go back to the solar plexus. You'll probably note that the lower abdomen is in, that's great, but now see if you can move as much as possible that solar plexus up towards the chin. So there's quite a lot of work going in the torso area. Then you can straighten that bottom leg and keep on thinking solar plexus, solar plexus, solar plexus. And then from there, you can start to straighten the right leg as much as you want. Now you can keep it bent as before, or you can try and straighten it. But again, as the priority is getting that solar plexus moving towards the chin, we don't want this. That's not a good idea because it also is not so great in terms of breathing. We want the opposite, so the chest is moving forward and up. So think of that solar plexus moving towards the chin. Now if you can grab the toe, absolutely fine. And this idea of the belt pulling in towards the hip is the same here. If you've got the toe, this is an even easier concept. That foot disappears into the hip and you breathe. And then you can just come out and change sides. So feet parallel under the hips, right hand now against the wall. We can bend our legs, lift up the left foot. If you need the belt, just hook it around the left foot and then go back to thinking, what is my solar plexus doing? Is my torso, is my back straight? Am I breathing? And then hook that belt round the foot. And when you want, straighten the bottom leg, still observing what the torso is doing before you can then either partially or completely straighten the upper leg. And you might want to take it in stages as well. There's no reason why you need to enter into a perfect position immediately. But at all times, even here, the torso is your priority. And the more you move into the final position, the more you will observe that that left foot really does disappear into the left hip. And then you can just come down. And this is quite a strong pose. So we could just place our bottom on the wall, have our feet 40 or 50 centimeters away from the wall, always in line with the hips. And we can just come down and do a supported Uttanasana. So sigh, let go. And then you can breathe in and come up. So to finish off today's 30-minute session, we're going to do a Supta Padangusthasana, entering into Dandasana, and it's a great way just to start to unwind the spine vertebra by vertebra. Let's get going. So we're going to lie down, Supta Padangusthasana, and have your feet in line with your hips and nice and broad. And again, just sigh, really enjoy the feeling of the floor support. And then you're going to separate the toes of your feet. You're going to push ever so slightly the base of the big toe away from you, the base of the little toes towards you. And keep that action going. The feet must be very strong. And then that energy from the feet should be sucked up in the direction of the hips. So that energizes the whole of the legs. So the legs are as equally strong as the feet. So keep that there. The lower abdomen is again entering the body. So just remember the presence of the brick at the start of today's lesson. And then we're going to lift our head and our shoulders. So we're essentially going to be looking at our belly. Lift our hands and arms and bring them in the direction of the feet. And then on the next exhalation, still sucking the feet into the hips, so the whole of the energy of the feet comes into the legs and then from there into the hips. We're just going to start to sit up. So that's an awful lot of work in the abdominals. And then when we're sat up, we can, on the next inhalation, bring our arms up above our heads. I'll just move my microphone around a little bit. So this is Dandasana with the hands in Anahatasana. Now, if this is hard to do, please feel free to bend your legs any amount, but your toes remain separated and pointing up to the ceiling at all times. Your feet are active. Then you bring your hands parallel with your legs. Do a retroversion with your hips. So it's as if you're wanting to put vertebra by vertebra your spine on the ground. And again, you're going to have to increasingly work the abdominals. The feet are strong, the legs are strong. Those 2 points are going straight into the hips. And the more you go down, the more the abdominals need to work. So think that the distance between your pubic bone and the belly button is getting less and less. And when you think you're on the edge of collapsing, stay there and really, really work the retroversion even more. And then when you have contact between the middle of your back more or less and the floor, at that point you can just come down and relax completely. Put your hands on the abdomen again and just let go. So as I say, this is a really good way to unwind your spine vertebra by vertebra. But at the same time, there's an awful lot of work going on in the abdominals. But of course, if your abdominals are strong, you protect the lumbar area of your back. So it's a win-win. Okay, let's do this again. One final time. So activate your feet. This energy from the feet moves into the legs and activates the legs. And then from there, all that energy goes into the center of your body, the hips. And you have to maintain this at all times. Separate the toes. And then lift your head and your shoulders. Bring your hands and your arms in the direction of your feet. And then we can think about shortening the distance between the pubic bone and the belly button more and more as we start to just take off. And this should be actually really, really effortless. If it's not, we just need to practice a little bit. And then we come into Dandasana. As I say, if this is really, really hard to do because you lack stretch in your legs, then by all means just bend the legs. But remember to maintain that strength in the feet, the separation between the toes. This is really, really important so that the hips continue working. And then on the next inhalation, our arms into Anahatasana over the head. And breathe. Don't withdraw the breathing. Keep the throat nice and open. And then bring your hands parallel with your legs. Do a retroversion with the hips. Start to decrease the distance between the pubic bone and the belly button. Keep the feet and the legs moving into the hips. So really, really strong legs and feet. And then when you're on the ground, you can just relax completely. And then from there, you can just simply put the fronts of your hands on the ground, palms turned up towards the ceiling. Eyes closed. And you can do a mini Savasana, just letting go, but being very attentive of the center of the body. The lower abdomen continues rooting down into the body. And the solar plexus that moves continuously towards the chin. And that means that you never collapse in Shavasana.